Welcome to the Real Freedom Podcast, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Real Freedom. And today I've got Van Sturgeon with me. And Van is a very experienced real estate investor, entrepreneur. He's got a lot of different businesses in the real estate space. And specifically, he's going to talk to us about how to get started investing, what to do. He's also very passionate about helping people with renovation projects, really walking them through those steps. A lot of the things that really trip up the new real estate investor. So we're excited to have Van on here. Van, welcome to the show. And why don't you just give us a couple minutes and share a little bit about your background?
Well, thank you, Michael, for having me on your podcast. It's I've been a long time admirer of yours, and I really do appreciate you bringing me on. My story is pretty interesting in that I'm a product of immigrant parents who came to Chicago, and I'm a product of the 60s and the 70s. Even though I don't look that old, I am pretty old. So we lived in an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment in Chicago. And my parents worked their tails off to try to save as much money as they can to put a down payment on a home, the American dream. And in that process, somehow they were able to find out that the building that we were renting, that we were staying at, actually went up for sale. And so they put all their money together, borrowed money from family, and were able to put down a down payment. And they bought this apartment building. Mm-hmm. And not that my parents had any experience in it, but they thought that they could learn. So they bought it. And then what ended up happening is things kind of changed during the late 70s. You're too young to remember, Michael, but back then we had interest rates at 18, 20 some odd percent. We had inflation rate going crazy. Sort of kind of stuff that's going to happen now, moving forward. But oil embargo. I remember waiting in line with the old man to get gasoline, the Iran hostage situation, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, it was a miserable time, and the economy went down the tubes, and the building that we were in, which was 100% occupied, dropped to around 50, 60%. The whole area went down the tubes. Landlords couldn't survive, and they were torching their buildings to collect insurance money. So I remember walking down in the neighborhood and seeing buildings pot-marked all over the place that were torched. So it was a really bad time. So as a family, we had to buckle down to be able to do what we've had to do in order to be able to survive, meaning we had to do all the work ourselves. So from painting, plastering, roof, whatever it took to get the bill to save money, to be able to get the repairs done, cleaning toilets, whatever it took, we did. Mm-hmm. And so that was the sort of the background that I had growing up, is that I didn't enjoy summer vacation. I was working because we had to work in order to survive. And then we sort of went through that period and got through it. And out of the early 80s, late 90s, things started getting better. And that's when I went off into university. Graduated and was going to go to law school, or I was encouraged to go to law school. And then I just didn't feel it. I didn't want it. And I went and I had a very difficult conversation with my parents and said, I'm just not going to be that lawyer. I don't feel like it. And I want to get into general contracting, construction, renovation. So begrudgingly, what are they going to do? Go ahead. If that's what you want to do, go. And so that's where I got my started. I became a general contractor in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Started my business, and slowly over a period of time sort of cultivated it. And then over that period of time, in the beginning, I started running into the same people in that real estate investment sphere, where, I would get calls to price out work for them. And these guys kept seeing the same people. And I started to realize, hey, maybe there might be an opportunity. And so that's when I started transition into acquiring properties for myself, for me, flipping. In the beginning, it was flipping. And then also doing my general contracting business. And both of those sort of grew. Mm-hmm. And there have been bumps along the way, and we could talk about them. But ultimately, got me to the point where I've got several businesses in land acquisition development. I'm a builder. I got a construction renovation restoration company that does residential, but specifically commercial buildings. and I own over 1,000 units across North America. So I'm in that semi-retirement stage, of my life. I want to downshift to sort of just stop and smell the flowers. And I really am passionate and really want to help because it makes me feel good. I really want to help people who want to get started in real estate investing, but in particular, people who are interested in, they've acquired their property already and they want somebody to give them a helping hand toward the renovation rehab process. Because as you know, there's television shows out there, there's channels dedicated to renovations and the disasters. And, we hear the horror stories of people, contractors grabbing deposits and running away, or tradespeople not doing quality work, that kind of stuff. So I love, because I love it. It's in my blood. It's second nature to me. I love engaging people and helping them through that planning and management of a house renovation. I'm really good at it. And I've done thousands of renovations, from apartments to single family to commercial, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. That's what I'm doing with my life, is just trying to help people.
Yeah, and I love a few things. One is, I mean, you've had a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, and B, like you had talked about, you're semi-retired, and you mentioned to me offline before about how you have good people running the different areas of your companies. And so, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because part of the topic of what we talk about is, the freedom that you can get through, these opportunities in real estate. And the freedom really only comes if you have great people surrounding you, because otherwise it's just Van putting out all the fires, Van taking care of everything, versus you have great people that are empowered to make decisions and empowered to take action on things. So, so I think that's an important piece to talk about. But let's go ahead.
If I could just quickly add, that didn't happen overnight, because from my background, with my family, I had to do everything in the beginning of my career, and I was a micromanager. It had to be perfect. I was the only one that can do it. And then I got to a point where my general contracting side was scaling up. I was getting really busy. And then I was doing these flips at the same time. And I was burning a candle at both ends. So it got to a point where I was sleeping on job sites. I was married to my wife, and we didn't even go on our honeymoon. I was just really focused on my business. And it got to a point where I was sleeping at job sites. And one night, I remember in the middle of the night, I wake up, I'm staring at this freshly painted ceiling. And I go, what the hell am I doing over here? Like, I was worried about this contractor. I was worrying about the kitchen manufacturer not showing up. And it came to the point where I almost had a nervous breakdown. And it wasn't until I reached out to a real estate investor who was very successful, who I asked them for their help. And they coached me. They walked me through the whole methodology of what I was doing wrong and what I should be doing right. And if it wasn't for that person, I paid them a lot of money. But if it wasn't for that person who stepped in to give me that helping hand to guide me in that process, I wouldn't have accomplished what I accomplished thus far in my life.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that you alluded to that sometimes people gloss over is the value of having somebody to help walk you through this. And sometimes that comes at a price. Like I understand people want to start and do things as cheaply as possible and, house hack themselves and do that. But if you have a vision bigger than one house or two houses, if you want to get to 10, 20, 50, 100, finding great people that know what they're doing, that have been down that road, and probably investing some money in some education from them, some mentoring from them, can really go a long way, because they can help you get to 10, 25, 50 units faster than you ever could yourself. I get you maybe want to do, house number one yourself, but if you do have a plan of financial freedom and you want to scale this, having that wisdom from others is really powerful.
I use an analogy, Michael, it's like if you want to learn a musical instrument, or you can go grab that thing and bang at it for a couple of years, and eventually you might figure it out. Or you go hire a music teacher that knows exactly what to do, teach you the way to hold the instrument properly. And if you make a mistake, maybe whack you upside the head. Well, one way or another, it'd be a lot quicker process than figuring it out. And unfortunately, real estate, you're dealing with, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you screw up, it can be a devastating blow that you can't overcome. So this is not chicken feed. This is not things that we can play games with. And so I strongly, strongly encourage everybody, if you really want to get into this and really serious, that you seek out mentorship and coaching to be able to guide you through the process, and you'll get a lot quicker to your goals.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the challenges that those early, hey, I'm really excited. I want to get into real estate. I want to do something big with investing. I may not have any money. I may not really know what to do in terms of being a handy person. Maybe I don't have previous experience. Walk through some of those challenges that those beginning investors face, and kind of how you can encourage them and help them through that process.
Well, the first step or first inclination for somebody who wants to get into this is they spend hours, days on the internet trying to get as much information as they can. Unfortunately, the internet is full of great stuff and also a lot of garbage. And so that is in itself something that people need to be conscious of before they start really grabbing information and using it. But I always strongly advise some of the people that they want to get into any walk in life, in particular real estate investing, is that birds of a feather flock together. And if you have, you need to join groups that have that interaction where you can learn. Podcasts are a great place. Your local REI, they're all over the place. Join them. There's meetup groups. Join them. Things of that nature. Get yourself involved in those groups, and they will be able to. And what I found in all of these groups is that people really want to help. Like, I am a part of these groups, and I really like participating and like helping people because it just makes me feel good. And I remember back then, 30 years ago, how it was when I got started. So I encourage people to make that. The next thing is, once you've been able to get that understanding and going, it does not mean that you need to have money, lots and lots of money, to get started in your real estate investment career. And what I found is that a lot of people need to start figuring out the areas that they want to invest in, thoroughly understand that whole area, and then start doing your research and looking into that area. What does that research process entail? Well, you need to, start reaching out to real estate agents. You need to reach out to accountants that are active in that area, probate lawyers, mortgage brokers, people like that, contractors, people like that are in that area that have some spheres of influences. You create your power team of people where you're getting information from them, you're understanding, you're learning, and that then leads to actually really getting on the boots on the ground and start driving around and looking at opportunities that are all over the place. Even to this day, as crazy as the real estate market is, there are opportunities. How do we know that on your street right now that person 4 doors down is missed a couple of payments on their mortgage, or has got bills to pay that they don't know what to do? Or 5 houses down, there's somebody who's a hoarder, and they got to the point where they want to sell their house, but they're embarrassed because of their situation. Or there's a 7th house down, there's repairs in the house that they don't have the money to sink into the house to sell it. They need to sell it, and they're embarrassed, and they just want a way out. Your ability to be able to go over there and negotiate something with those individuals. Before that, though, you understand and realize what the market is and the value of that property, and then you subtract the actual costs associated with having to bring it up to market level. You're doing a service. You're helping yourself up, but you're also helping them. That's the way I look at that. And so if you were engaged in that process, identify a property, you haven't spent any money. You've just created an opportunity where you sign a contract. You're able to purchase a property, and then what you can do, and you should do, and you could do, if the deal is great, you got a network of people to say, hey, I got this property, I got a great deal on this property, buy it. And you'll find that there'll be a flock of investors like me who will come and say, yeah, that's a great deal, I'll buy it. And then what do? You make money on that. You make money, 5,000, 20,000, 10,000, whatever, something like that. And all of a sudden now, from your efforts, you're learning the marketplace, but also you're making money. And then you start doing that over a period of time, all of a sudden, people will come flocking to you saying, hey, let's go partner on this. All of a sudden, wow. All of a sudden, you don't have to put any money down. And this is the thing that I want to this is the kinds of things I stress to people that I tell people that they should be doing when they get started. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense. And for a lot of people, it's not being willing to put in that work to go do that. And I think tying it back to, what do you want out of this helps bring you through those moments, because real estate investing, or, lots of different opportunities in real estate, like they're hard. People walk in thinking, because of the TV shows that you've alluded to that people watch, that they just think, oh, I can just get my license or just step into the industry, and now all of a sudden I'm making 50,000 on this deal, 100,000 on this deal. Well, no, it takes a lot of time. And so,
right.
Yeah, you may spend weeks going and finding that one property. But once you do, like you said, if it's some sort of wholesale type deal, and you pick it up and you sell it for $10,000 more than what you have the contract for, well, then you made $10,000 in 3 weeks. I know there's a lot of people that would be ecstatic to make $10,000 in 3 weeks. So, and then it's just building and building and building, and you find more people. And I've told some people, some folks think like, okay, like the question that comes up, well, I don't have money to get started in real estate investing. And what we want to challenge people with is, when you find the right property, when you find the right opportunity, the money will show up, because there's people out there like you that are willing to invest in those types of things, or you can find some other people. So don't let I don't have money be the reason why I don't start this journey of trying to build wealth through real estate. It's you gotta do step one before you get to step two. You can't go to somebody, if I came to you and said, hey, Van, will you invest in a property for me? Well, what property is it? I don't know yet. I don't have it. Right. No. But if I come to you and I say, here's the property that I have, here's the current value, here's the amount of the repairs we're going to put in, and when we do that, here's the value of what we can sell it for. And I say, okay, for that amount of return, would you be interested in investing? It's a whole different conversation. So you've got to roll up your sleeves. You've got to put in the time and the effort at the beginning to find the right investors that are going to be the ones willing to write that check.
Michael, what I laid out is the road to success that anybody can do. And it's difficult. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to meet people. You got to interact. You got to create that power team, and you got to move the ball forward. It takes a lot of effort, and it's not easy, but you got to do it. Mm-hmm. You got to get out of your comfort zone. Ultimately, what I just spelled out is the roadmap to success. In that, once you've identified that area, you zeroed in, you got the information, you got the knowledge, you got people that you can refer to, you can rely on. And then once you're able to identify that property, and you got that sphere of people in that REI group, meetup group, whatever, trust me, if the deal's good, you'll get somebody that's going to snap it up in a heartbeat, especially nowadays. Mm-hmm. Then once you've been able to do that over a period of time, do 3 or 4 or 7 of them, and you've got some money coming in, and all of a sudden now you've created something. Now you've created an awareness within that meetup group, that REI group within your sphere, that, hey, this guy's a mover and a shaker, or this girl is a mover and a shaker. All of a sudden you'd be amazed what ends up happening. You will have people with money, moolah, is going to come and knock on your door and say, yo, I like what you're doing over here. Let's partner up. Let's do razzmatazz. And then you got into a situation where now you got the other party to put down the money, and you go 50-50, you work out a little deal. It's beautiful stuff. And you haven't put a penny into it. Mm-hmm. But people got to work at it. People got to, and another thing is that if you got money to invest, don't invest it in a property, invest it in yourself. Invested again in coaching, invested in bettering yourself to understand this whole thing, what I just described. That's the way to go. And that's the smartest move that you can make. Make the investment in yourself before you make an investment in a property.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you had mentioned about, finding your area that you want to focus on, I know some people will get hung up on that. How do I know what area to choose? What are some tips that you can give to people of, is it the neighborhood I'm in? Is it the neighborhood down the street? Is it the neighborhood across town? Is it upper class, middle class, lower class? Is it duplex, multi-units? Is it single family homes? People get stuck in that spot, and they think, well, the whole world is out there. I don't know where to start. What tips can you give for people about trying to narrow down the focus to an area that will make sense for them?
No problem. I would go 4 to 5 hour radius from where you live, And those are the areas that I would be concentrating on. I would identify areas that I would then zero in and concentrate on, and I would know them thoroughly to the street names, good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods. You need a zero lock in, but 4 to 5 hours. So it would allow you to wake up in the morning, a little bit early, drive to this area, do what you had to do, and come back. That would be my limitation. That's what I suggest that people have asked me this. Second of all, I always like in terms of the area, I always like getting areas that are older, because you'll find more opportunities in older areas. Because if it's a 60, 70, 80-year-old home, there's definitely going to be repairs. There's a lifespan to everything. And typically those types of homes within that range require renovating. And a lot of people don't want to get into it. And then you've got opportunities, or people have lived there for 50, 60, 70 years, and then they want to cash out. And then the house is, needs work. And there's the opportunities. If you think that you're going to get into real estate investing and be successful at it by buying a beautiful, nicely put together home that requires no work, no, there's no money to be made there. Money is made on the buy. And the only way that you can make money on the buy is you got to find the ugly duckling, the diamond in the rough that's got a lot of dust and debris on it, and you got to clean it out to be able to profit from it. And then once you've been able to identify one of the other criteria I would be looking for is I like areas that are in that low to middle. I like middle class, working class, blue collar kind of areas where you're going to find individuals that, let's just be frank, like individuals that might have accumulated a couple of visa bills that need to be paid and they don't know what to do, or mortgage payments that fallen behind, that kind of stuff. You're not going to find that in a well-to-do area for the most part, but you're going to find that in that area. Then lastly, the last piece of business, I like to be able to identify an area where I can buy homes in that $100,000 range. 50 to 100, 150 tops is the area that I concentrate on, because when you get up into 200, 400,000 and up, it's more difficult to find, much more difficult. In fact, practically impossible to find deals. You can still find them, but you're putting up a lot of money. And I like, if you're a baseball player, analogies, I like hitting singles instead of running out and hitting home runs.
Yep.
On the single family home side.
Yep. Okay. So I've kind of identified an area I'm focusing in on. I found a good deal. I've maybe got an investor that wants to help. Gosh, Van, how do I know what to do in terms of repairs, or how do I price this stuff out? How do I know if it's going to be $20,000 of repairs or $50,000 worth of repairs? What if there's something foundationally related that I have no clue about? It's another thing that trips people up and a reason why they might not move forward in their investing career. So how can you help people through that?
Absolutely. That's one of the major fears that people have in moving forward is that whole fear of reno rehab. And it's understandable, because the ironic thing is that you buy a property at X dollars, and then the process of you trying to do repairs, reno, rehab to it, you're actually decreasing a property when you're ripping out kitchens and bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. So you're decreasing it, and then you're spending more money to be able to get it to the same level that you bought it at, and then higher. So I get it. So one of the things that I'm hoping that people will do prior to their purchase is that they thoroughly know their marketplace, meaning they've done extensive research on what the rental values are, what are homes flipping for, and if they're selling, what are they selling? Like, what's the work that's been done in those homes? So you got to start from that basis, so that and you understand that if I bought it for X amount of dollars, what can I realistically bring it up to certain value? Like now there's different scenarios. Obviously, if you're doing flips, that's one thing. If you're buy and hold and you're going to rent out the property, that's another one. And each one has its unique processes in order to be able to bring it to the point where you realize the gain, of course. So walking in, if you're new to this and you don't have any experience, I strongly encourage you to hire a property inspector to go through the property, to give you a whole laundry list of things that they deem or see wrong with the property. But that only goes to a certain extent. Ultimately, then the cosmetics associated with the property, you got to make those decisions on your own. And the only way to be able to be in a proper footing, a proper place to be able to make those determinations, that you really need to know your marketplace to understand what you got to do in order to be able to raise that value. Once you've been able to get that, and what I teach is that when you get to that point is you create a list of needs and wants. So needs are things that definitely have to be done. If you got a hole in the roof, you got to replace that. If you got a hole in a window, you got to replace that. But if you don't, if you wants are, the shaggy green carpet, to which, may not look all that great, but you can still live with it. So once you've been able to determine that, then you go out and you start pricing it out. I got an actually little nifty, it took me several months to develop a renovation calculator, where you go, where you click in all the values associated with what the work you want to do. And it gives you, spits out a rental budget of what it'll cost. So that's a tool that you can use to be able to determine what the cost would be.
Okay. So then with a lot of these folks, are they doing the work themselves? Are they, hiring it out? What's the stuff, like going back to kind of the beginning investor here, deciding what stuff can I do versus what stuff do I need to hire out? How do you help them through that?
Well, typically people will get into the new real estate investor has two options. Either they do it themselves or they hire a general contractor. And do it yourself, I don't recommend, because never mind these TV shows that show in 30 minutes a house being renoed. I've got scars all over my body, from all over my face and hands, and here there's a scar right there, from doing things in construction and renovation. So I don't recommend you do that. The next the thing is that then people then resort to hiring a job contractor, which I am, and I strongly encourage you not to do that. Because if a general contractor like myself is going to, on a $50,000 rental, as an example, my cost on it would be somewhere around 35,000 ish, and I'm going to charge you 50. So I'm making $15,000 of profit. I have to, in order to be able to be on your project for 2 to 4 months. I got to make that kind of money, because other than that, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And so, and the higher you go, the more money, of course. So if you are able to save that money and that 15,000 and keep in your pocket, even if you were to make a screw up or a mistake, you got that cushion to be able to tap into. And then along the way, you learn the process, because ultimately, once you were able to get your hands and understand what the renovation rehab process is and the cost and the time involved, then you're in a much better position to be able to walk into the next property and make and assess it, properly assess it, to determine whether it's a deal or not a deal, whether it's good or not good, how much it's going to cost for you to be able to. So it's sort of all interconnected. But the reno rehab process is a critical skill set that you need to learn in order for you to be successful at it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're here to make money. And the only way that you can make money is you got to make money on the buy. But how do you get to the point where you determine what the buy is? Well, you got to be able to walk in at home and determine what are the costs associated with that reno. So that's what I preach to people. I don't know if I answered your question, though. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. And I think too, in a hot market like this, where inventory is really low, there's a lot of people that are out there looking to buy homes, and especially real estate investors, they need to be buying homes. And so it can be tougher and tougher to find those deals. And so you have to be creative. You have to be willing to work hard to kind of find those unturned stones that maybe somebody else hasn't found yet. Because if you just go to the MLS, and see what's public there, everybody's going to be scorching through that, trying to find the best deals. So you've got to find that stuff before it hits the MLS. And hopefully you can get yourself a better deal. And then you don't have the competition of 5 investors trying to bid on that property. Because if the money's made on the buy side, it's tough to do that when you're in multiple offer situations.
Michael, I'm so entrenched in areas that I invest in that I literally have my email box filled up every single day with opportunities. Not all of them are great, but opportunities that I should sift to. These are off-market deals. These are not found on MLS. And it's through the relationships that I have in all these areas of people that are in the business, that are in those areas, that feed me opportunities, wholesalers. I've already gone through the list. And so that's what people need to establish. Unfortunately, new real estate investors run to that MLS like millions of others. They're hoping that they're going to find a deal, an opportunity, and it's just not going to happen, man. You got to go out there and you got to, like you said, I like that little term. You got to flip over some stones that other people haven't, be able to find those deals.
Yeah. So let's talk for a little bit then about how you've been able to build a few different areas within the real estate industry, because you had mentioned land development, property management, your general contractor business, obviously your investment business, and others. Talk about that process of growing it and then finding somebody to help run it to where you can focus on your next thing.
I to be honest with you, I just sort of fell into it. I got an A+ kind of personality, and I'm more of a visionary. I set things up, and I'm very lucky to have been able to hire really great people to be able to grow my businesses. So I started with general contracting, which then led into flipping homes and investment, that kind of thing, and then it moved into I've actually started acquiring properties for the rentals. And then got to the point where I was giving all these rentals out to a property manager. And then I realized, well, why am I doing that? And once I got to 50, 60 properties, I'm like, why am I giving my business over to these people? I can do this in-house. So I got a property manager, professional one, licensed. And then I created that business. And then all of a sudden that business started to grow because other landlords and people relationships that I had with real estate investors who didn't want to get into that racket, I would invite them in, and then they gave me their business. So that grew. And then from there, I love construction. I love building. There would be opportunities where I would find a raw piece of property, like an infill site, where I would grab it and I would subdivide it. And all of a sudden I would build custom homes. And then eventually that, I enjoyed that. I loved that process. And then eventually that spiraled into doing the subdivisions. Sometimes I would go things on my own. Sometimes I would be brought into opportunities where I had, relationships where, hey, Van, there's this opportunity here. Do you want to get in? And that's how things sort of kind of moved in that direction. And I've been very fortunate. I've kind of sideswiped some difficulties, especially 07, 08. I grew. I guess the general contracting side didn't do as well, but on the investment side, there was a lot of opportunities back then, and I did really well. And the wealth that I've been able to realize was during that period of time where people were running for the hills, didn't want to touch anything, and I was snapping up really great deals. And those opportunities don't happen all the time, but when they do, you got to step in. When the herd is moving one way, you got to step in and go against it. So that's how things it just came natural. I didn't sit back 30 some odd years ago and plan all this out. It just led from one to the other just because it made sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you alluded to too, when the herd's running away and you're running in, that's a difficult thing, but you have to go with your gut and really know what's good. And in real estate, we know that, there's times where real estate may fall, but it's also going to go back up. And in the long run, it's going to go back up. And so you had to have a little intestinal fortitude there in your gut as everybody else is like, get out, get out, get out, for you to say opportunity, opportunity, opportunity.
Right. Well, Michael, there's two types of properties you can buy. You can buy based on appreciation, or you can buy properties based on cash flow. And I've never been one to buy properties on appreciation. I can't stand it. Things that are happening in Toronto, Vancouver, down over there in San Francisco, and places like that, where things just keep going up and up, and there's no cash flow. You're actually negative cash flow. I don't like that. I love to be able to sleep all the night every month, knowing that I'm going to make X amount of dollars. All my expenses are paid, my mortgage is paid, and I'm making a couple $100 on that door. I love that. And I enjoy that. And that's all, I've always been driven by that. Have I missed out on appreciation of, I've missed out on that, but I love getting money in every single month. And that's how, that's what's made me successful.
Yeah. And then just to kind of cap off here, talking about financial freedom. So, you own 1,000 properties, you've got some other businesses that you're running, and now it's afforded, and you've got great people running them. So, you're in a great spot right now where you've worked hard, you've built behind you and put great people in place to now where you can kind of enjoy doing what you want to do, which is really, like you talked about, helping people, get into an investing and helping people in other areas, because you've built this great empire of different businesses behind you. You get to experience that freedom.
Yeah. And again, this is something I just fell into. Like I've had a hard and I put my family through a lot. And so I've got to this point where I'm happy, I'm successful. I got great people running things. So I so want to take things, step it back. But at the same time, I'm not a golfer. I'm not a guy who will be able to buy a block of wood and whittle it down to a coffee table. And I started getting bored with myself, and I was trying to figure out, what's the next step? Like still don't have a foot in the grave, but at the same time, I'm up there in age. And so I wanted to figure out something else. Like, what am I going to do with myself? What's my why? And it was a friend of mine who called me that was looking for to do a renovation on their house and wanted my help. And I've done this all throughout my life. I helped them out. I helped them in the planning and the management. And it was a great process in that they saved a lot of money and it empowered them. And they were so thankful for me being involved in it. And I really saw this in front of me. And I'm like, wow, this is such a great experience. And it filled my soul. It filled my heart. And I was like, this is something that I really enjoy and love. And then I want to help people. I'm not doing it's all about helping people, because I don't need money. I got lots of it. But I just a process of helping people really empower. I enjoy it. So that's where I'm at. This is what I do. I enjoy it, and that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for coming on, Van. And for those folks that, your story has resonated with them, how can folks learn more about you or get a hold of you?
The best place to go to get in contact with me, and there's a bunch of information and resources. Again, I touched on the free renovation calculator that I have on my website. You can go there and download it. It's vansturgeon.com. There's a lot of information there. I encourage people to go there, and they can reach out through me through that, or through social media as well. If you search my name, you'll be able to see me pop up somewhere.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Van. We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with everybody.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.